Hello YouTube, Elmas here, and I have for you guys today one hell of a battle. I know recently I've been doing a lot of live Wi-Fi battles, but I actually kind of forgot that I had this battle backed up. And let me tell you guys, this is a very good Wi-Fi battle. When I say it's good, I mean it is really good. It's really hard to find a good quote-unquote competitive Wi-Fi battles, but this was one hell of a game. I assure you guys, even though this is going to be about a 15-16 minute video, that you will definitely enjoy this game. And for the few of you who do watch this, if you did enjoy it, make sure to show off your support and leave a like in the comment section below. And as for the question of the day, what is the best battle that you remember having right now? For me, of course, is this one, because this is easily one of the top 5 best battles I've probably ever had on Wi-Fi. Actually, probably top 3 for sure, and definitely the top battles I've ever had. My opponent is MarkoGaming, I want to say. I'll leave his Twitter link and his channel link down in the description. You guys should definitely go check him out because he is a very good battler, as you'll see from this match. So of course, as you can see from our teams, we both have Raikos and I have a Jirachi. This is because this game took place before the ban, so it is a little bit old, but as I said, I can't stress this enough, guys. It's a solid battle. So looking at his team, I automatically noticed that he had a Mega Camera, which, if I lose my Snorlax, Mega Camera just destroys my team. Also, going into the battle, I knew that as soon as I got rid of his Pangoro and his Chestnut, that my Curselex would be able to set up and sweep his team after 2 curses. So that's my game plan, getting rid of Pangoro and getting rid of Chestnut so my Snorlax can win the battle. So he's going to be leading off with the Pangoro, as I'm going to be leading off on my Scarf Jirachi. I have no reason to not go for U-turn, sorry, and bring in my Crobat. And actually, right before this battle, I originally had the Acrobatics Crobat that carries no item for knockoff users, and I was like, you know what, I've used that set way too much, so I decided to go with a Black Sludge Brave Bird Crobat. And this is where it really costs me, because I take 90% from that knockoff, which has me thinking that he is definitely Choice Banded. As I go for the Roost, he's going to go ahead and bring in his Raikou. Now, I don't want to risk him potentially being Scarfed, so I'm going to make the safe switch into my Jirachi, as he actually hard switches out into his Camera, which at first I found to be very odd, but you'll find out later that he's actually not carrying Volt Switch, spoiler alert. So as he brings in the Camera up, I'm going to be forced to go for the U-turn, because if I stay in an Iron Head him and try to flinch him to death, there's a chance he won't get flinched, and then he'll destroy me with a Fire Blast or an Earth Power. So he does make the good play, goes for the Earth Power as I bring in my Snorlax. Obviously I wouldn't risk bringing in Crobat, because he could have gone for the Flamethrower or Fire Blast, and that Earth Power actually does a really solid amount of damage to my Snorlax. So I'm going to stay in and go for the Body Slam, hoping to get a paralysis on whatever he decided to switch in, but he actually stays in and he goes for the Stealth Rocks, which is going to be a tad bit annoying. Then again, I do have Defog on my Crobat, so I can kind of manage it. As he makes a safe switch into his Chestnut, I don't get a paralysis, which is fine by me, because any bit of chip damage I get on this Chestnut is going to be very beneficial to me in the battle as it progresses. So obviously I don't want to stay in and take a potential Leech Seed or Drain Punch, so I'm going to make the safe switch into my Crobat, as I believe he does end up going for a Leech Seed, expecting me to switch out, which isn't too big of a deal. Then again, I am in a situation where I'm going to be forced to go for the Roost, just because my Crobat is starting to be severely worn down fairly early on in the battle, and Crobat will definitely be a huge help to me in this game, because it gains me momentum with U-turn. I can defog with it, and it's just a great pivot and the perfect counter to this Chestnut. So predicting me to go for the Roost, he's going to make the safe switch into the Porygon 2. This Porygon 2 was actually a bit of a problem to me, just because this is the one thing stopping my Deontay from plowing through his team. So my backup plan, if I did lose Snorlax, was to get rid of Porygon 2 and then win the game with Deontay. So I'm going to go ahead and U-turn out from this Porygon 2 just to get off a bit of chip damage as I bring in my Snorlax, which should be able to take this Porygon 2 one-on-one. So long as he doesn't freeze me with the Ice Beam, I'm going to be in a good situation against it. And I believe I do just end up going for a Body Slam here, because I really have no reason not to. Porygon 2 cannot really touch me, and the switch out is very obvious. Plus, if I do paralyze his Chestnut, which is his best switch in my opinion, then there's a chance he'll get paralyzed on an important turn later on in the battle. But he actually ends up bringing in the Pangoro. As I paralyze that, I'm going to switch directly into my Crobat, expecting him just to want to go for a Hammer Arm or Drain Punch, but he actually ends up double switching into his Chestnut. I guess maybe thinking that I would stay in with Snorlax to go for another Body Slam, which is understandable, but obviously because I did get the better end of the switch outs, I'm going to be able to get off a free Defog here. In hindsight, maybe I should have gone for the Roost, but ultimately I guess it wasn't too bad, just because I was able to see what he wanted to bring in, which was his Raikou, and also be able to get rid of the rocks. As I switched directly into my Krookodile, expecting him to want to go for a Volt Switch, he ends up going for the Thunderbolt, and because he hard switches out here, I'm thinking, okay, he may be choiced in some sort of way, and maybe he forgot Volt Switch. So that's going to be beneficial to me, as I'm able to get off a free knockoff on the incoming Chestnut. In hindsight, maybe I should have Pursuit Trapped the Raikou, but I guess knocking off the leftovers on Chestnut is more beneficial to me in the long run of this game, as he switches in the Porygon 2. If I had gone for another knockoff here, this would have been so helpful to me later in this match. Unfortunately though, I decided to go for these Stealth Rocks, expecting him to Leech Seed, predicting me to bring in my Crobat. As I go for a third knockoff in a row, I catch the incoming Chestnut, of course. Now I'm going to make the Safe Switch into my Crobat on the off chance that he wants to go for a Drain Punch, but no, he decides to go for these spikes, and this is fine with me considering that now I can get off a free Roost, predicting him to go for the Spiky Shield, but he makes an excellent risky play and goes for the Leech Seed, predicting me to go for the Roost. And if I had just Brave Birded that turn, I would have been able to potentially knock out Chestnut and win the game with Snorlax a whole lot easier. But Snorlax is still my main way of winning this battle. So due to him having that one layer spikes, I'm going to be forced to defog later in the battle, which is going to kind of suck because I'm going to lose my Stealth Rocks. But I think me having no hazards is more beneficial in the match than me also having no hazards on his side of the field. So I'd rather it be an even playing field without both of us having hazards, as opposed to him having spikes and rocks on my field where I only have rocks on his field. So I Pursuit Trap the Porygon 2 because the switch out was fairly obvious, just because he doesn't want to take a knockoff. As he brings in the Chestnut, I switch directly into my Deontay. There was a bit of a lag there. If it shows up after I render this, and I apologize, I promise you that is all the lag that happens throughout this battle. As I'm going to go ahead and Mega Evolve here, I really have no reason to not just go for the Moonblast. Due to the pursuit damage that I got off on the Porygon 2, if he does switch it in, I will be able to actually 2-hit KO Porygon 2 after the rocks damage. So Moonblasting was literally the better and best play I could have done in this situation. And honestly, what I probably should have done at the beginning of this battle was Mega Evolve Deontay a whole lot sooner, just to try to prevent him from being able to set up so many hazards on my side of the field. As he brings in the Starmie, I don't want to catch a potential Hydro Pump, so I'm going to make the safe switch into my Jirachi, as he makes an excellent play, predicts me to switch out, and he's going to go for the Rapid Spin. Turns out that he is the bulky Starmie, which I absolutely hate bulky Starmie. I really do. That was probably my most hated UU Pokemon while it was UU. Luckily though, it is now OU. Actually, I forgot to mention that Team Preview Starmie also got moved up to OU. Anyways, I U-turn, get off a huge amount of damage as I bring in my Raikou. This is really good for me because even if he wins a speed tie, due to him being more of a bulky variant, I would say I should be able to live any one hit and get off a super effective hit with my Volt Switch. Now, my Raikou is actually Assault Vested as opposed to it being Expert Belt or Specs, but predicting him to switch out into the camera up, I'm going to stay in and I'm just going to fire off Hidden Power. Unfortunately, I don't carry Shadow Ball on this Raikou, or I didn't carry it at the time, and my best move that I have to hit camera with was Hidden Power Grass, if I'm not mistaken. So being forced to switch out this turn, I'm going to go ahead and just bring in my Snorlax because I still do have use for Raikou later in this battle, but he actually ends up switching into his Porygon 2, I guess maybe thinking that I was locked into Hidden Power Grass with my Raikou, and obviously Porygon 2 can easily take that because it is so bulky. And this is good and bad for me. It's good in the sense that now if I really want to, I get off a free Roost, but he gets off a free Recover, and I really misplay against his Porygon 2. Honestly, what I should have done right here was just started going for Curse, because after +2 defense from Curse, there's not really many things that Chestnut can do to Snorlax outside of Elite Seed and Spiky Shield, which I guess at the time I was thinking that I should still try to get rid of Chestnut, but even if he had switched in Chestnut here, I probably would have been at +2 defense and +2 attack, and my Snorlax would have been able to severely weaken Chestnut or knock him out, and then probably still be able to put in some work to the remainder of his team. Unfortunately though, I do play it safe and I just body slam Porygon 2, then eventually go for the rest, and I'm gonna stay in and burn a turn of rest here, expecting him to want to switch out, or if he does want to stay in, that's perfectly fine with me. As he does bring in the Chestnut, I do get a bit lucky and I pull the body slam, as unfortunately still no paralysis, but it's fine, as I'm gonna be forced to switch out back into my Crobat because I still have use for Snorlax, as he makes a nice double switch into the Starmie, expecting me to bring in Crobat because that's the only Pokemon that I've been switching into Chestnut. Although I did bring in Deontay earlier, I'm not going to bring it in now because I am fearing him going for Drain Punch. So I'm going to be forced to either stay in Defog and lose my Crobat, or go for U-turn into my Jirachi and have it potentially get burned by a Scald. Luckily though, he does not predict me to switch into Jirachi, and he does just end up going for the safe Psyshock, which is really good for me because at the amount of HP that Jirachi is at, that Starmie is at, I can indeed knock him out with the U-turn, and he knows this, so he's going to end up switching directly into his camera, which is really good for me because now I can bring in my Crocodile to Pursuit Trap this camera up to ensure that he does not have it for the remainder of this battle, because this will be one less thing I have to worry about. And once I go for Defog with my Crobat, it means that his Stealth Rocks will be gone for the remainder of the battle, which is going to be very, very good for me in this game. So I knock out the camera up as he brings in the Starmie. I make a really, really questionable play here, and I stay in. I thought that the Scald was way too obvious, so I decided to stay in and go for the knockoff to finally get rid of the Starmie, but no, he made a very nice aggressive play, goes for the Scald, knocks me out as I get a free switch into my Raikou. I'm in a situation where I can honestly just go for the Volt Switch or go for a Thunderbolt. Ultimately, Volt Switching is the better play for me to do because if I T-Bolt and he does bring in the Raikou here, as you see, I'm just going to lose a lot of momentum and have to make the safe switch into my Snorlax to take an unnecessary hit. So ultimately, Volt Switching was my better play. Plus, I'm pretty positive that at the amount of HP Starmie was at, a Volt Switch still would have been able to knock him out as I Volt Switch directly into my Snorlax. I believe that I do just stay in because I think this is my final turn of rest, if I'm not mistaken, because there should be nothing this Raikou can do to me. It turns out he has leftovers, I think, and that confirmed to me that he most likely was a sub-Calm Mind variant. So I'm just going to stay in just to burn off a turn of rest. Even if he has the Aura Sphere, it really won't be doing too much damage to me as I finally go through my second turn of rest. He's going to make the safe switch into Chestnut. Much like earlier in this game, I really do not want to leave in my Snorlax against this Chestnut because Snorlax is still my main win condition because he does still have the Porygon 2 on his team, as he makes a nice double switch into the Raikou, predicting me to bring in my Crobat. I know that I'm faster than this Raikou because I run enough speed to outspeed Raikou, so I'm going to go for the Roost, expecting him to want to go for a Volt Switch or a potential Thunderbolt, but he turns out to go for the Calm Mind, I guess maybe thinking that I would go for the Defog primarily, which is probably what I should have done, because now I'm in a very bad scenario where he can get up another Calm Mind, and it's going to be a +2 Raikou dealing with my Snorlax. Thankfully for me though, he ends up making a bit of a bad play. I was trying to say misplay, but mad play came out. But he makes a misplay by going straight for the Thunderbolt. Then I bring in my Jirachi and I'm gonna go for the trick, hoping to lock him into a Calm Mind so my Snorlax could have a free chance to set up. But no, he ends up being aggressive, going straight for the Thunderbolt as I bring in my Snorlax. At this point, this is the only chance that I have to win this battle. So he's going to stay in and go for the T-Bolt as I get off my first curse. This is really good because even if he switches into Chestnut here, after I get up my second curse, Chestnut should not be able to beat my Snorlax one-on-one without a lot of luck on his side and a lot of bad luck on my side. So I go for the second curse. After that Thunderbolt damage, I was really fearing that if he got a really high damage roll, he may be able to knock me out. Thankfully though, he decides to switch directly into his chestnut here, as I'm going to be able to freely go for the roost. And now I'm in a perfect scenario, a scenario that I probably should have been in very early on in this battle, about 20 turns ago at this point. So he's going to go for the Drain Punch. As you see there, it only does about 20%, which is excellent for me, because if I get up to +6, then I will definitely beat this chestnut one-on-one. So I'm gonna go for the Sleep Talk. I get pretty lucky and I put a body slam, I pull a body slam as I get off a huge chunk of damage on the chestnut. He still though is in a good scenario, because unless I set up more curses, then Chestnut might be able to take down my Snorlax at this point. Plus, there is always a chance that he could crit me with the Drain Punch. But my Snorlax is well trained. I'm able to hit him with a body slam that I pulled from my second Sleep Talk. And at this point, the match is basically over. Fun fact, this battle took about 55 minutes real life time, which means the timer was running down at this point. I think this is where we had like 10 minutes left. And the reason why I switched into my Deontay here was because with my Snorlax being leech seeded, the battle would have been dragged out a little bit longer. Honestly, I probably still should have just left in Snorlax, because I guess leech seed recovery wasn't that big of a deal for him to be getting back, just because after +3 I probably would have been able to OHKO Raikou and OHKO Starmie, then Porygon 2 still would have been 2 KO'd. But yeah, after these couple side shocks, I believe the timer right here was down to like 2 or 3 minutes, and I tweeted him saying that, dude, there's really no reason for you to be doing this, I pretty much won the game. Luckily Mark was a nice dude and was like, yeah, the battle's basically over, and he wasn't that guy who decided to run out the timer, because at this point I believe Snorlax was my last Pokemon. He still had Porygon 2, Starmie, and Raikou, which means, if I'm not mistaken, if the timer does run out in a battle, the person that had more Pokemon technically wins. So luckily he wasn't the type of person to do that, and he did just run when the timer was about to be 1 minute left, and ultimately I was able to pull out the victory, because obviously if this was Showdown, I still would have won. But yeah, that was a really solid battle. In my defense, I did play very safely. I played completely too safely, to be honest, and Mark did take advantage of that a couple of times, if you saw, as you saw in the battle, sorry. But Snorlax just being able to come in and get off those two free curses is what really sealed the victory. Plus, I did get pretty lucky with Sleep Talk, which just added on to me being able to have an easier time winning this battle. But yeah, guys, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to hit the like button. I know this is almost 18 minutes long, I apologize, but as I said, it was just a really good game. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Show off your support by leaving a like down below. And the comment question today was, what is the best battle that you remember having? Let me know in the comment section below. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Later, everybody.